So I was worried about some of the big things around how the NHS would perceive Beacon when we first entered the UK market. But the reality is a lot of the more challenging aspects to setting up Beacon UK have been the little things, the logistical things. One specific example of that is trying to set up a UK bank account, which actually took over 6 months to do, because we were setting up a UK bank account that was feeding off a US bank account.
One of the great things that UKTI has been doing with us is helping us work through. So if you're a small company with 50 people that has a technology that's potentially this transformative or changing, and you're trying to figure out how to work in a new system, you need a lot of help.
The actual process of setting up a business in the UK is not difficult at all. I think the main issue for companies coming from overseas, especially the US companies we act for, is really first deciding on what type of entity they want. Most of our clients from the US will tend to choose a wholly owned subsidiary, which is a limited liability company, or what the US typically are known as a C corporation. In terms of the actual process, it is very simple to set up a business in the UK. Typically, if you'd like to set up a company, you only need a minimum amount of £1 of share capital. You need 2 directors to act in that capacity in the UK. They do not need to be resident in the UK either, so directors of the existing US entity will suffice. And really, in terms of timescales, if we had everybody in the office to sign the papers, I would say you have a company that is ready to trade with within 24 hours. We typically say to clients, allow a week because we need to send papers back to the US for signature. Blake Rothenberg, which is based out of London, but has offices in 70 countries around the world, very much specializes in assisting overseas companies to come and set up here. We currently act for about 700 or so overseas companies, of which about 400 are US companies that are doing business here. And I'm in the States probably every 5 or 6 weeks meeting with these companies. So we have plenty of experience of actually helping these companies set up here.
Setting up a website was easy. Registering a company we managed to do overnight, but some of the policies around HR have been quite difficult to navigate as well. So it's those sorts of areas that I'd recommend turning to UKTI to ask for experts who are used to advising US companies on who to help. We're building momentum. I think it's really early days for us in the UK, but it is really exciting, and I'm looking forward to what happens next.
We then worked with UKTI in advance of our trip in November. It's really been a tremendous opportunity for us to kickstart our efforts there in a way that we never would have. The folks at Oxford and Cambridge both, along with other institutions, provided excellent feedback, and really for us, our first trip to the UK was much less about selling what Evertrue does and much more about learning the differences, similarities, and the challenges and opportunities that UK fundraisers are experiencing.
I think they definitely learned during their time in the UK that the UK fundraising and donor landscape is much different than here in the US, in that culturally we have a much more of an inkling to want to give to our universities that we graduated from and our schools that we've graduated from. The UK is pretty far behind the US given all the economic difficulties, particularly in Europe, and they caught the attention of a lot of the UK's most prestigious universities, and we've even seen that senior UK government policymakers have taken notice of their product and feel that it could play an important role in the way that UK universities raise money in the future.
If anything, they'll just guide you to work harder here and then eventually get over there.
Where are the people that could be the potential customers in the United Kingdom? How do you relate to the health system? What are the different parts of the health system? How could you fit in? Who are the people that would want to value this or implement it? And I think what's really exciting about the partnership between patients like me and the United Kingdom is we have the ability to really measure all of these unusual diseases with these unmet needs really well. Everyone that I've talked to as part of the NHS or the government is about how do we make the British health system serve the British, the British. They helped us understand what parts of the system we could potentially impact. So it was a dialogue. What Anne does is so critical both for the British companies and for the American companies looking to interface. I mean, these are very complex systems made up of bureaucracies and regulators and laws. I think it took 5 years off of what it could take to interface with an institution as large as the government and the National Health Service and in the country. There are pilots that are being set up now to work with different areas where we can demonstrate value in specific diseases. We've connected to some of the big funding agencies like the Wellcome Trust that could potentially be involved in testing whether these ideas can help people. Because you know how to buy a drug, you know how to pay a doctor, you know how to build a hospital, you know how to buy a medical device. What you don't know how to do is how to integrate a new way of measuring and understand medicine into the system. And that's the conversation that's going on right now.
More than 250 businesses from Massachusetts are already prospering in the United Kingdom. When our long-established bilateral relations do give us a strong foundation on which to build. And the watchword is collaboration. Because in a truly innovative economy, it's not something that you can do in isolation. It needs to be something where we think about partnerships across the Atlantic. And it's why the UK government, led by our Prime Minister David Cameron, has made it a priority to set out a very clear message, I think, which is that Britain is open for business, it's open to innovators and entrepreneurs, it's open to investment.
And we've achieved some amazing things, but I think my favourites and the ones that are last are where we've helped businesses set up. And you can see the business, the British business that's come to Massachusetts and hired people locally and built out its science. That's very rewarding to see. But also New England companies, Massachusetts companies that have gone to Britain and they're there operating in Tech City in London, for example. It's great to see those as sort of a bit of a legacy from what we've collectively achieved here these last couple of years.
If you are looking for a new business partner or indeed a new research partner, look no further. The UK is your natural home. And I believe that with a combination of highly skilled researchers and entrepreneurs, a working day that spans both North America and Asia, and the fact that, like you, we speak the language of business, then I think the UK is a genuine gateway to Europe and also a springboard to the rest of the world.
IBM, GE, they know how to make those things go back and forth across continents. We don't. To be able to lean on the kind of professionalism that you've connected it to and brought to bear made a decision possible that would not have been possible.
Well, I hope that you enjoyed watching that. It was great to see so many innovators from this region going back to the UK and starting up their businesses there.